Hi, and welcome to the Meat Minute. I'm Stacy Zelli here at Purdue University, and what we're going to talk about in this video is knife selection and also some basic cutting skills whenever we're dealing with raw meat. Now, if you go to buy a knife set, a lot of times you're going to see knives such as this, the chef's knife, or even a more serrated looking knife. This is a steak knife. Or if you buy the super duper set, you might actually get one that looks like this. And even though these can be really nice for a variety of products, when we're looking at cutting raw meat, none of these are going to be all that great. This is probably the best one, and this is really only meant to go through bones. So a lot of times you're not going to be using a knife such as this. What I do recommend is you look into purchasing something such as this. This is known as a boning knife, and some of the key characteristics of a boning knife really come down to the shape and edge of the blade. When you look at the tip of the blade, you notice that a chef's knife is quite large at the tip, whereas a boning knife is quite narrow. That narrowness is really helpful when you're going to go ahead and separate muscles or separate out bones away from meat. So having a narrower edge is very, very helpful for that. That's where, again, a chef's knife, not really wonderful because it's got such a thick tip to it. The other type of knife that a lot of people will grab is one such as this, which is a steak knife. And you'll notice that it has a texture to the edge. It's actually got a serrated, And when it's serrated like that, again, it's not going to cut nice and smooth, and it's not going to be as useful whenever you're trying to separate out your various cuts. So purchasing a boning knife is very helpful. Again, you're looking for a nice smooth edge, and you also want to make sure, again, it's got a very narrow tip to it. Another question that people ask me many times is, how do I maintain the edge of that knife? Many times your meat cutting knife set will actually come with something that looks like this. This is actually known as a honing steel. This is actually not designed to sharpen your knife. What it can do is help realign the blade. Let's say you accidentally hit the cutting board or you hit a bone when you're cutting. A honing steel, can be very helpful. If you actually have a fully dull blade, you need to find yourself a sharpener. This is actually going to end up removing some pieces of metal from the tip, the edge, and that'll actually add a bevel to that edge. This is just meant to actually realign it. Whenever you're using a honing steel, you want to lay your knife nice and flat, and you want to raise it about 45 degrees and make sure you get the entire length of the blade. Now, if I just do this, that's great, but I've only done one side of the blade, and there's two sides to every blade. So you need to make sure you come on it and do the other side as well. So make sure we're getting both sides of that blade nice and honed, and that's going to maintain, again, the integrity of your blade. Now, whenever you're using a knife to go ahead and cut meat, there's two ways you can hold it nice and effectively. One is to make sure you've got your thumb parallel to the blade. This is going to give you a very firm grip, and it's going to give you very good control. The other way that you can hold it is the overhand method. Now, this one usually gets their eyes a little scary when you think it looks like a serial killer, but this is actually a very steady and firm way to hold the blade, and you can have a lot more control with it whenever you're using the knife in order to cut seams and things like that. So I'm going to show you on this turkey thigh how we can actually remove this very bone, So you can see that I've got a bone that starts here, ends here. And I'm just going to use the tip of my knife in order to come down. And yes, I'm going to use the overhand method. Again, I could use the normal method a lot of people think of, but it puts my elbow kind of high in the air, and I'd much rather use the overhand. I feel like it gives me better control. Now, notice I'm not having to do too much sawing action, just a little bit here and there, but otherwise I'm just going to let the knife do its job and cut through the meat. Get this turned towards you. And in doing so, I'm not going to tear too much. I'm actually going to let the knife, as I said, cut. So we're going to let that finish off. And so I've been able to remove that, and you'll notice that my knife is only dirty here at the bottom couple inches. That's all I needed to use in order to separate that out. Now, if I had a bigger cut, I might end up making it a little bigger or making it a little more dirty. But again, that's all you need to use. Generally, using the center portion of your knife is not going to be that necessary whenever you're removing bones or, again, removing seams.